Time for us to get started. I'd like to call this listening event to order. Welcome and thank the city of Leavenworth and the Riverfront River Center for providing this facility. What a beautiful setting this is. If you will please rise for the invocation and keep standing for the flag salute. Senator Cluse will.
Thank you, Senator. Let us pray. Jesus, I want to thank you for this week of meetings and the safe travels. As we've heard from so many citizens in our great state, once again, we ask today, as we come to the close, that we continue to have listening ears to what is important to the people of Kansas. Grace us as legislators moving forward in this redistricting process, that we do what's right for your people in your name. And everyone said, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag Thank you, folks. I want to thank you again for, we've got some echoes here. Just bear with me, please. That's right. We're used to it. Okay, we're ready to go. Again, thank you for being here today. We're excited for this opportunity to hear from the public about your thoughts of this community. This is a listening tour for the committee and the body to hear from you about what is important to you about your area that we should consider as we move through this process. I'd like to take a moment to introduce a few members. First of all, I'm Senator Rick Wilburn, Chairman of the Senate Redistricting Committee. To my right is the President of the Senate, and he is the Vice President of the Redistricting Committee. And immediately to my left is the ranking Senate Minority Leader, who is the ranking member on the Senate Redistricting Committee, Senator Sykes. I'll turn this over to the House, Representative Croft, to introduce his group.
Good morning. I'm Representative Chris Croft. I'm the chairman of the House Redistricting Committee, and I'm from Overland Park. To my immediate right is my vice chair, Representative Brad Ralph, and he is from Dodge City. And to his right is the ranking member of the House Committee, and is Representative Tom Burrows, and he's from Kansas City, Kansas. If I could, I'd also like to recognize in the audience or up on the table for us is our House Minority Leader, Representative Tom Sawyer. Thank you.
In addition, I might add, we are in the Senate district of Senator Jeff Pittman. I believe Jeff is here, and also the House Representative Pat Proctor. We are all in their district, so thank you for hosting these gentlemen. Most importantly, we'd like to acknowledge you, the audience, and thank you again for taking time to be here today and be part of this process. Senator Sykes would like to make a welcome comment to you. Senator Sykes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. I first want to say thank you to the City of Leavenworth and to the Riverfront Community Center for hosting us. And it is great to see all of you this morning. This is what I hope is one of the first of many conversations that we have with you, and the important task that we have before us. We want your help so that we're able to develop districts that have a healthy connections to you, stronger representation, and good public policy for all Kansans. So thank you for being with us today. Thank you for your testimony. And my staff has some contact information, because like I said, we want this to be the first of many conversations with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Sykes. We appreciate those in the audience and committee members, both here and online. A lot of our committee members have not been able to make every stop. but they are very much involved in the process. This listening tour is for us to hear from you, the public, about your community. And just one step, it is just one step in the state's redistricting process with a goal of exceptional transparency and public access. What you have to say today is very important to all of us. We ask that the state elected officials to provide their comments at a later date. They will have ample opportunity to do that in the future. We are looking forward to becoming more familiar with your communities and hearing what you have to say on things to consider as we are drawing boundary lines and how to improve the process for the benefit of all involved. You will hear me say today, a number of times, it's about your community. That's what we want to hear. There was an online sign-up sheet, and we had a sign-up sheet here at the entrance for those wishing to speak to the committees. If a speaker is more comfortable speaking in another language, and it would ensure the speaker's thoughts are more accurately portrayed, we encourage the speaker to use that language. We will have all the comments transcribed, translated following today's meeting, and provided to the committee members, the legislative body, and the public. We are also using closed caption here in this, not in this room, but online. Amanda below, you'll see her. And by the way, when you're speaking, if you don't see her giving sign language, that means she's not hearing you. So we'll have to speak up close to the mic. Oh, excuse me, the closed caption's over there. Gotcha. This time around, redistricting is a little more challenging with the delay in the U.S. Census data, which just arrived, I believe it was yesterday. By conducting these listening tours, it provides an opportunity to listen to you, the public, about your communities. We are the unique aspects, how they have changed over the last 10 years. What are the things about your community we should think about? When drawing boundary lines, we welcome comments on the ways to improve the overall process. This listening tour is just one step. You've heard that before and you'll hear that again. It has been mentioned that it's a very long and continual process. To address the overall process where we are at that sequence, I will turn the microphone over to Jordan of the Kansas Legislative Research Department to review the aspects of redistricting. Jordan, welcome.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Again, my name is Jordan Milholland. I'm a senior research analyst with the Kansas Legislative Research Department, and I'm our lead analyst on the redistricting team. First of all, I wanted to let the audience know and the committee know that the committee documents for today's meeting can be found on either the House Redistricting Committee or the Senate Committee on Redistricting pages on the legislature's website. All the testimony submitted for today's meeting is available on there, as well as a copy of my presentation. So I'd like to start off with my overview of the census and redistricting process by letting you all know that there's several steps in the preparations with the census before redistricting occurs. Some part of the census is constantly happening, and redistricting is part of that cycle. Federal law requires states have the opportunity to participate in census preparation, and states are required to participate to get census data for certain areas of the state, specifically smaller units of geography, such as precincts. States must participate to receive population data for those precincts. The program also requires states to participate through a nonpartisan entity. And in Kansas, we participate through the Kansas Legislative Research Department. We've been working with the census since 2015 on this current cycle, which will last through 2025. The program is broken into 5 phases. I have a listing here of the phases. Phase 1 is the block boundary suggestion project. Phase 2 is the voting district project. Phase 3 is delivery of the census data. And was already mentioned this morning, we received the legacy format files yesterday. Those format files take a little bit more manipulation to get to the relevant data for everyone. But I would like to note that the county level population numbers are available through the census website currently. And then finally, the more user-friendly files are anticipated by September 30th of this year. Phase 4 is confirmation of congressional and legislative district boundaries, which occurs after redistricting. And then phase 5 is feedback from the census. Next, I'd like to discuss the apportionment. So earlier this year, we received the total population for Kansas, which was determined on Census Day. That was determined to be 2,937,880. That was good for a gain of 84,762 persons. And that number was used for apportionment. It was determined that Kansas would not gain or lose a seat for this cycle. Next, I'd like to speak about the adjustment. So from 1988 to 2019, the Kansas Constitution and state law required adjustment for military personnel and college students. In 2019, the legislature passed a Senate concurrent resolution to add language to the November 19 ballot to seek to remove that adjustment. And that was approved by voters in 2019. So the state is no longer required to adjust for students and military members. Next, I'd like to discuss the redistricting process. The process is a legislative process. These maps are drawn on the computer, and then it's submitted to committee. They're subject to a technical review and converted into bill language. This bill language is the same as any other bill as far as it's subject to committee hearings, testimony, and is subject to amendments. The legislature proposes, votes on, and approves the following maps: congressional, Kansas House, Kansas Senate, and State Board of Education districts. Then, just like other bills, the governor will either sign, veto, or allow the bill to become law without signature. Finally, there's a review aspect of this process. The Kansas Supreme Court must review and approve the state maps. I've listed some additional steps on this next slide. So for maps that are passed by the legislature, they're published in the register immediately upon passage. The Attorney General is then required to petition the Supreme Court to determine validity of those maps, and the court has 30 days from the filing of that petition to enter judgment. If the court says the maps are valid, the process is complete. However, if the court says that the maps are invalid, then that means that they must be redrawn by the legislature. There are several steps I've listed here, but to summarize, the legislature would redraw maps and resubmit until the court determines that those maps are valid. Next, I'd like to discuss some resources available on the KLRD website. You can visit the KLRD website at ksledgeresearch.org, and from that homepage, you can select our redistricting tab. We currently have reports up for the 2012 maps. You can see in this image here, the text is quite small. I apologize for that, but you can see those blue links. There's quite a number of reports that are generated for each of these maps that are subject to technical review. So you can kind of have an idea. If you look now, you'll have an idea of what will be available for the 2022 maps as well. And then finally, I wanted to highlight our contact information. If you have questions, we have an office in the State House you can visit. You can also call our front office desk, or you can visit our website. We also have an email address available, redistricting@klrd.ks.gov. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jordan, for those comments and brief explanation. For those of you who sent in public comments as of yesterday, those documents are in the inboxes for each of the committee members and are posted online for the legislative webpage for the Redistricting Committee, kansaslegisresearch.org. If anyone wants to provide public comment later, please send comments to redistricting@klrd.ks.gov, or you can visit the website. The legislative website does provide instructions so that you can provide your comments and testimony but please follow those instructions. There is no cutoff date for the public to send in comments. They are open 24/7. The House Committee Vice Chair, Brad Ralph, to my right, will maintain a timer and will indicate with a card your remaining time left. The Vice Chair will start with a 2-minute warning, a 1-minute warning, and a 30-second warning. This will give you the opportunity to wrap up your thoughts as you conclude your testimony. When your time has expired, he will hold up that card and ask that you honor the card to end the comments. We have several conferees have signed up, and we'll allow 4 minutes for each conferee. Again, a brief reminder, we have received other comments, and we do appreciate what you are providing here. The first conferee is Mike Steben, Leavenworth County Commission. Welcome to the committee, Mr. Steben.
you. I didn't know I'd be first. But first of all, I'd like to welcome you all to Leavenworth County. I'm the county commissioner from the south part of the county. I represent all along the river and then up into Tonganoxie. Can you hear me? Okay. And I'm here, and I believe we have another commissioner here, Commissioner Cause, who's here with the district up here in Leavenworth. The issue that I wanted to bring to your attention was with the judge-drawn lines of Leavenworth County. We have not been represented with our communities of interest. We are divided and split. I live in District 3. We are consistently not represented, I would say, because if you look at the demographics and voting information, our area votes completely opposite of the way the rest of the area portion of that district votes. Our interests in Leavenworth County are very different. We're a more rural, agricultural oriented county. We're a county that has different interests than Douglas County. And our other senatorial district, District 5, is split between KCK and the western part of Wyandotte County, and then Brent comes down into Leavenworth. So what happens is our communities of interest in our county are not consistently being represented. We're being split. We're the county that's being used to, we're looking for the place to find people and divide it. But with the population numbers, I understand 82,000. I believe the senatorial district requires 74.5 or around 75,000. We have enough population in Leavenworth County to have our own senatorial district that would represent Leavenworth County in the legislature. And I think it would be very good for us to have our own senator from our county. And they would definitely have a consistent voice for this part of the state. We're the 6th largest county in the state. And I think we deserve to not be split up into 2 levels. Now, we're very lucky we have Senator Pittman, who is from Leavenworth. But if you look at the actual districts, District 5, when you divide it between the KCK part and the Leavenworth part, the numbers indicate that we might not always be that lucky. And the District 3 has consistently been an area where we have not been represented. So I would just hope that you would look at the fact of the community of interest of Leavenworth County with the very important factors of us having the military base here and having the many prisons here, that we need to have a voice in the legislature as our own voice, not as a split voice between KCK and between Wyandotte County and between Douglas County. We'd like to have our own voice. And I think our community of interest, I believe, is very different than the way the districts have been divided at this point. So I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening to me. Also, just a side note, at the commission meeting on Wednesday, we did bring this up about, and I am, just to let you know, I'm speaking exclusively for myself as a single commissioner, but we did bring this up at the meeting. And one of my fellow commissioners said, we wanted to have it this way for a long time, and we're going to be drafting a letter that we will hopefully be able to come to consensus to and provide to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stephen. The next conferee is Edna Wagner with the Leavenworth NAACP and the Richard Allen Cultural Center. Welcome to the committee.
Good morning. Can you hear me? My name is Edna Wagner, and I'm here to represent the NAACP and the Richard Allen Cultural Center and Museum. Our members are greatly concerned about the reconstruction efforts to nullify the vote of the Black voters. Splitting the district would overcome and would be part of the impact that would nullify the vote for the Black voters. Historically, Leavenworth has a significant population of Black African Americans. From the 10th Cavalry from the Buffalo Soldier Regiment, which was formed at Fort Leavenworth in 1866, many soldiers and their families made their homes here in Leavenworth. They have descendants that are still living here today. The majority of the families live on the east side of Leavenworth, which the vote has been split from the 40 to the 41st district, effectively splitting those districts from area code 66048 and to the second district of 66043. The 41st district should include all voters from the 66048 zip code. This District 40 and 41 is about the same population of Black. The Black voters from District 41 in Leavenworth is roughly about 13% versus 3% in the 40th district, which is Lansing. Our citizens choose to live in Leavenworth and should be able to vote at the legislature for the District of 41 and not be forced to vote for District 40. People who live in Lansing is in District 40, living in area code 66043. That's Lansing zip code. Leavenworth County is historical and unique. The eastern side is different from the western side. The Senate, fifth region, is approximately lined up with Leavenworth, the city of Leavenworth on the K7 corridor. Having one senator represent all of Leavenworth County is not a good idea. The community boundaries are rural, urban boundaries, approximately needing 2 senators for the Leavenworth County. Lastly, Leavenworth County should not be put in the congressional 1st district of Western Kansas. Our issues in the northern Kansas are different from the vast agricultural land west of us. Thank you all for letting me speak this morning.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Brian Taylor. Is Mr. Taylor here? Yes, yes. Welcome to the hearing.
Thank you and good morning. My name is Brian Taylor from Lansing, Kansas. I would like to thank the committee for allowing me to offer my testimony. What could I offer this morning? I'm not an academic. I don't work in government or public service. Although I keep apprised of current events, I don't believe I have any unique academic or cultural insights. Any studies or academic works I would offer are already readily available to this committee, as we saw in the earlier presentation. The only relevant information I have is my participation. Today, I would like to share my participation and how it shapes my point of view. In the last year, I have reached out as a constituent to the following men who represent me: State Senator Kevin Braun, State Representative David French, Senator Jerry Moran, and Congressman Jake LaTurner. I reached out to Mr. Braun and Mr. French in 2020 after the 2020 Kansas legislative session. After 5 months, I did have dialogue with Mr. Braun, but only after I pointed out neither one responded to me. Mr. French never responded. Let me emphasize, never responded. I reached out to Mr. Moran's office in November of 2020. I sent a letter through his government website concerning the election and raised some questions. Mr. Moran acknowledged the letter, said he would respond, but never responded. I reached out to Jake LaTurner, asked some questions in response to a government piece, or in response to a piece he wrote on the AtchisonNow.com. He made a point to comment about how he had received 10,000 pieces of constituent, 10,000 pieces of constituent contact, 1,700 phone calls. And I was curious to know if he used this information to guide his legislative efforts or make his policy decisions. Within 24 hours, I received a response that addressed none of the questions that I received or that I posed. So I bring this to your attention today because the men that represent these districts, this community, they're not responding to us. They're not engaging us. And so my question and my comment to this committee is, These voices today that you're going to hear, please use them. Please make it a point to engage them. Because the men that are representing us, the men that are currently making decisions for us, they are not listening to us. They are not engaging us. One of the greatest gifts that we can give our future generation is a strong, enduring democracy. By not allowing every voice, every county, every city, every community to have that voice will not allow us to give this gift that has blessed us all so much to future generations. So I appreciate your time this morning. I appreciate your thoughts. I encourage you to do the right thing and make the choices in the best interest of this community. With that, I thank you and good luck in your endeavors.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Next up is Carol Jordan, League of Women Voters of Topeka-Shawnee County. Welcome to the committee.
Do the short lady thing here. Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, and a lot of local leaders here behind me. Thanks for coming today. My name's Carol Jordan. I'm a longtime resident of Northeast Kansas. I've lived in Douglas and Jefferson and Wyandotte and now Shawnee, Kansas for, I'm going to say, a half a century, give or take a few there. But today I'm representing the League of Women Voters of Topeka, Shawnee County. I'm so grateful for the chance to submit testimony today because fair representation is important to everybody in Kansas and to the state's future. I must note that driving for an hour to speak today is not a big hardship for me. I'm retired and I have a sort of new car. Plus, Leavenworth's a great community. Last time I remember being here, I still worked for the State Department of Commerce and I attended a Main Street meeting here. That's one of the examples of a community working together to do something good for the community. I know Leavenworth has worked real hard to make this area nice. I would urge you, other people have done this, to conduct your next set of hearings during evenings and weekends when working folks can participate too. Any action you take to make the meetings more accessible is great. It will help all Kansans. That would also include Spanish interpretation. Redistricting decisions can't be made without study and analysis of the 2020 census data. You can't make real suggestions without some time and studying. And you know quite well that that data only came out yesterday. Now it's important to give your committee, yourselves, and all the communities of interest the chance to study that data before we decide what change we need to make to maintain equality of population in our districts. When we have that data, we should make full use of it. Publicize it as fast as you can and immediately. Make it available in a useful way through maps and reports of current districts. Give yourself and others time to study and analyze. Then set that next set of hearings ahead of time, publicize them. I conclude with just 3 things that are really important to the League of Women Voters. First, the best and most fairly organized districts are based on input from the people who live there, that have their boots on the ground there. Good citizens need political power and representation of their own choice. This serves our whole state well. Get all the input you can. Second, if you draw districts, don't dilute the power of minority populations who have shared interests. And finally, I urge you to take another look at the policy in Kansas that has said redistricting decisions should be made while avoiding contests between incumbents. The League of Women Voters opposes that. We believe voters should choose their representatives rather than representatives choosing their voters. Thanks for your time and all the work you're putting in.
Thank you for being here. Next conferee is Sherry Gordon. Is Miss Gordon here? Grogan, excuse me. Steve Grogan, the great quarterback.
Good morning,
Welcome.
committee members and chairman. Welcome to our county. My name is Sherry Grogan. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters and president of Rural Leavenworth, Inc. I also served previously as chairwoman of Leavenworth County Democrats in the 2nd Congressional District. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm hopeful citizen input will speed up your process and minimize rework. A couple of my key points have already been mentioned, so I'm going to skip them, but there's one that I'd like to mention, and that is Leavenworth County is home to correctional facilities. And the courts divided up those facilities across multiple House districts the last time that redistricting was done. And not incarcerated persons don't vote. So these districts actually have fewer actual voters than other Kansas districts. We also have Fort Leavenworth, a military installation that includes a command and general staff college. It employs military personnel as well as civilians. So there are many retired military families that choose to make Leavenworth County their home. Most of them reside in Leavenworth and Lansing. Some of the military voters choose to vote in their home states rather than Kansas. I have a couple of recommendations or considerations. The first one is to keep school districts whole as much as possible when defining House districts. Exhibit 1 of my testimony is a map of Leavenworth County with House districts, and the overlay is school districts. There are a couple I'd like to point out in particular. Lansing School District is spread across 3 House districts, District 38, 40, and 41. In 2015, a new high school was opened in Lansing. That high school is actually in District 38, whereas most of the Lansing citizens are in District 40. So I would encourage you to take a look at putting Lansing School District in one House district. The other school district that I'd like to highlight is Tonganoxie School District. It's currently spread against a 38 and a House District 42. The second consideration that I'd like to make is that the bottom third of House District 38 be included with the Johnson County House districts. The Kansas River divides this district. Bottom is Johnson County, the top is Leavenworth County. The third recommendation is that you consider putting the Leavenworth County development corridors in the same district. We have 2440 that runs through House District 38 and District 42. More importantly, we have a corridor, 222nd Street, that's CR1. There's an entrance ramp that was built to I-70 about 10 years ago. And so that whole district right there, that corridor, has been rezoned in preparation for industrial and mixed use development. One side is on District 38, the other side is on District 42. That's also where the chicken plant tried to come into town, and where Hill Dog Food is preparing to build their plant. So that is really an area that we have growth. This whole area, you're going to see that our population increased in Leavenworth County. Well, that's because of the activity in District 38 and 42. The last item is keep our congressional districts whole. Don't split counties across congressional districts. We have Miami and Marshall where that's occurred. Second, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next company is Mark Albrecht. Gilbert, help me with that. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I appreciate it. My main purpose for being here today, my main motivation, I guess, maybe a better way to say it, is to express my sincere hope that you
Could
will.
you speak a little closer? She lost contact. Yeah, well, I have the same problem, so.
Okay, how's that? Hear me, I guess. Okay, so my primary motivation for being here today is to express my sincere hope that you will through this process produce unbiased and fair maps. So what are fair maps? Well, I think there are a lot of elements that obviously go into producing fair maps, but one of the keys, I think, is maintaining and preserving neighborhoods and communities of interest. And so what's the community of interest? Well, again, probably there are a number of definitions, but I'd like to use just a couple of examples to illustrate and to express my thoughts about communities of interest. So I said I live in Topeka, and I live in the central part of Topeka, the older part of Topeka. And within central Topeka, there are a number of NIAs, Neighborhood Improvement Associations. And those are basically just neighbors coming together to identify common interest and concerns and goals that they work on. Currently, in the central part of Topeka, many of those NIAs are actually split between at least two Kansas House districts. And, I think that's just not the optimum. I think those NIAs could be better served, better represented if they were all in one district. I would definitely not like to see them further divided coming out of this process. On the other hand, the Kansas City metropolitan area, I think is a large community of interest. They share a great many interests. And I think you could argue that they may share some interests that aren't repeating probably any place else in Kansas because of their metropolitan area. So I think that's an example of a good district, and I would not like to see that change coming out of this process. I would also ask you to avoid some things, to avoid the practice, including partisan and encumbered home seat information in this redistricting or in your redistricting database, and to reject the protection of incumbents through such devices as considering an incumbent's address. I also think fair mapping needs some reference points. So I hope that you are developing guidelines and criteria so that we as voters can use that criteria to assess your work as you develop the maps. I also hope you're going to schedule more hearings now that we have the census available, we had a chance to look at them. We all know that maps can be drawn in many ways, and that you can draw a map to achieve those basic population thresholds, but still not achieve all we would like to see in fair maps. I'm concerned about that because when that happens, I think we can preserve, if not promote, racial, health, educational, and economic inequality. And for that reason, I think your work drawing maps and fair maps is so very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next conferee I have is Jeanette Levy. Is that pronounced properly? And I think I'll get corrected. Welcome to the committee.
I'm Schön guten Morgen, Anna. I understand that there is interpretation, but I am going to speak in the English language. I just wanted to make a statement. This welcome to the first city of Leavenworth, Kansas. We have a very diverse community here. And at the moment, I do not feel that the diversity of our community is being served based on our present situation. I have lived here 48 years, so I have been through the process of census numbers in the past. I have also worked as a poll worker in various areas here. And one thing I would definitely ask you to do is not set census lines or redistricting where you halve the streets, where one half of the street is in one district and the other is in another. That became, as a poll worker, a very unfortunate situation. I know it's easy to draw lines, but it's not easy on the people that are living there. I am requesting fair maps. I am requesting that we evaluate the districts, not on political lines, but definitely on who lives where and who needs representation. Our present representation is good in some areas and not so good in others. And so I would very much appreciate an honest and open view on how we need to draw the maps for the state of Kansas to best serve the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next conferee is Paul Conway. Is Mr. Conway here? Welcome, Mr. Conway.
Can everyone hear me? My name is Paul Conway. I live in rural Leavenworth County, District 42, about half mile where Smithfield used to be. I have to commend the people that were here. They've obviously done a lot of studying looked at their districts, looked at how the education of the school districts match with House districts and Senate districts. I commend them. I understand too, I appreciate the fact that you have a very tough job in front of you. I listened on the radio today, about 80 of Kansas's counties have lost population, mainly in the central and western and central parts of the state. The counties that have gained population have basically all been in the northeast corner. I probably Wichita gained too, but I don't know. But essentially, that's the problem you have. People in Morton County deserve representation just as much as people in Johnson County do. But all I'm telling you basically is try to keep communities together to the extent that's practical. It really bothers me. Apparently, what I see now is a temptation, and this is probably true for the legislature in Rhode Island, South Carolina, as is here, for legislatures to pick their voters rather than voters pick their legislatures. I understand. But it just, when Susan Weigel tells the Pachyderm Club that we can have the means now to have 4 Republican representatives in the Senate, that's not right. I know you can do it. I know the Constitution says it's fine. Legislatures have the power to do these things, but it's just not right. I mean, every voice should be heard. And, you know, different parties need to be able to convince voters that they're right. I know most voters probably don't know, or aren't really interested in the registration process. That doesn't mean it's an opportunity just to jam yourself through and gerrymander. And I understand it's very tempting, easy to do. All I ask you to do really here today is try to be as fair as you possibly can, keep communities together, try not to make sure that certain groups get disenfranchised because it's difficult for them to get the polls, to live in the quote wrong areas. That's not right. Try to be as representative as possible and then convince voters that your ideas are better for the state. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you very much. The next conferee I have on the list is Connie O'Brien. Welcome to the committee, Ms. O'Brien.
I'll probably be one of the shorter ones. I have one piece of advice. Please do not let the courts draw the lines. They have no concern for the people or the citizens of the state. Their job is population. So please, when you're working together to draw the lines, I beg you, do not let the courts draw the lines. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next conferee I have is Sister Teresa Vandert, Sisters of Charity of Leavenworth. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. Didn't we get a wonderful rain? So just a piece of history. The Sisters of Charity of Leavenworth arrived here on this river, on a riverboat in 1858. I think that's 2 years before we became a state in Kansas. And anyway, if you go down a little ways south, there's a boulder with a plaque on it that shows where they arrived. And they were known to bring a lot of bundles with them. So they even brought a harp, which is quite a historical piece. But anyway, so we've been in this community and in this state since 1858. And we always are looking for who is not at the table and who is being left out or who life has been most unfair to. So I agree with Carol Jordan from League of Women Voters, when she says that we need to have these hearings so that we get everybody's voice. And remember the essential workers, what COVID has taught us about the essential workers. And either that maybe if we don't have their voice here, we should have people who represent their voice, and that their voices are represented in the halls of Congress and in the halls of the Kansas legislature. So I just end saying blessings to all of you. I always say these are listening marathons. If this was a running marathon, you'd all have great heart rates. But so you continue with these listening marathons, and I wish you peace as you continue this journey. And I agree with all those who've asked for it to be fair. I thought Mr. Jordan made that point very, very well. And you have my encouragement and my prayers. Welcome to Leavenworth.
Thank you very much. The next conferee I have on the list is Julie Durand from Jefferson County. Welcome to the committee.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I am a private citizen. I live in Jefferson County, and I would like to speak about Senate District Number 2. We were redistricted the last time and lumped in with part of Lawrence. And at that time, we were concerned about whether Lawrence would overshadow Jefferson County. And our wish came true. We were. So if you're familiar with Northeast Kansas, you know that Jefferson County is primarily rural and Douglas County is rural with a city in the middle of it. And we get a chunk of that city as part of our Senate district. And so if you had a map and looked at the population density of Senate District 2, part of it would be very dark colored, part of it, the north part of it would be very light colored. And the representation we are receiving definitely skews towards where the population is most dense. So those of us living in Jefferson County where the population is not as dense feel like we are receiving less representation. So with the new maps that are being proposed, that puts us in with part of Leavenworth County. And granted, Leavenworth County has more population than Jefferson County, but we also feel that the population density would be less skewed, less so than it is now. So we feel like we would get more representation with the new map for District 2 than the current map for District 2. So we are very much in favor of the new map rather than the current map. So please take that into consideration, and I appreciate you listening to me.
Thank you very much. The next conferee I have on the list is Doug Walbride, also from Jefferson County. Is Mr. Walbride here? Seeing not, we'll go to the next one, Richard Mall from Jefferson County. Welcome to the committee. Good to have you, sir.
First of all, thank you for allowing us to speak a little bit on the issues that we think we're facing. I am Richard Baum. I'm a commissioner from Jefferson County. I've been a commissioner. I'm in my 4th term. Being in the Senate district that we're in, we feel we have lack of help on a lot of things. In the 12 years that I've been a commissioner, working on 13 now, she has not once come to visit us. Our state representatives come to visit us on a fairly often basis, but we just feel we don't have good representation. We are a conservative county. Hedging us with Lawrence is not that issue. I mean, Lawrence is a lot more to the left than what we would like to be. So when you're drawing the map, we just appreciate it if you'd send us somewhere else other than Douglas County. Thank you.
Thank you. The next conferee I have on the list is Linda Johnson, League of Women Voters. Welcome to the committee.
And thank you for taking the time and energy to come to Leavenworth. We appreciate it. I'm the fourth person from the league. As you can tell, the League of Women Voters takes things like redistricting and gerrymandering and making sure every voter and community of interest has access. And so lots of us care deeply about that. I am a resident of Leavenworth. I've lived in this county for 14 years, but I'm also a native of Kansas. And in my 77 years, 60 of them have been spent in Kansas. My first 18, 19 years were in Russell County. I also spent 18 or 19 years in Johnson County. I've been up to 14 now in Leavenworth County, and I spent some time in Riley County going to school and in Saline County. So I've lived in various parts of the state, and every area has their own specific interests, and it's important to keep them in mind. But it's also important to keep in mind that you've got to come up with a map that works for the state of Kansas, because we all ultimately have got to start working together. One of the tools that you did not use today and that you might be able to use evenings or weekends that, at least in the league, we have found very useful are Zoom meetings. Not everybody has access to Zoom meetings, but I've become, if not addicted or used to, I've also seen some value in them. They can become very tiresome, but they are a way for you to cover a large geographic area and reach out to more people than you may be able to at 9 o'clock on Friday morning. I'm also very opposed to the notion of trying to protect the people that are incumbents. We have some great incumbents in Leavenworth County, but they are great incumbents and they can run again and get reelected again. And I think it's just important to draw the boundaries in a fair and equitable and as nonpartisan as possible, and let the candidates convince those voters to vote for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is the end of our oral commitments today. We have at least 6 people that have sent in written testimony. I look at the clock and see that we do have a little extra time. Is there anybody here that would like to come forth that didn't sign up and would like to hear your voice again about your community? Yes, please. Welcome, and please state your name and speak close into the mic. Thank you.
My name is Danielle Wells. I'm a school board representative for USD 453. I wasn't prepared to speak today, but hearing Sherry speak about our school districts, that brings to mind, we have sections of our school districts that are picked apart. And so if it's possible to do it fairly where we're represented, where we have better representation within the school districts, I think you should keep that in mind. You guys control what money we get to be able to spend. And so I didn't realize that until I became a board member, how much it's relied on you guys, that we don't have that control. I thought, I'm going to run for local school board and I'm going to be able to make a difference. You guys get to choose that, not me. So I think it's important that we keep that together. So thank you.
Thank you. Would you give your name for the record one more time?
Danielle Wells.
Danielle Wells. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward and give your name, please.
Good morning. My name is Joanna Schultz, and I actually serve several roles in the community. I am a retired teacher. I raised a child here. We were military. We came here 24 years ago. And I'm also a veteran, as well as the president of the Leavenworth NAACP, a member of the Women's League of Voters. So, I have a stake in this community. I love this community, but we have some issues with districting. I moved to Leavenworth. I actually have to vote in District 40, and our school district is in Lansing, but we live in Leavenworth. So in order for my son to go to school in Leavenworth, I had to pay out of district fees. So that he could go, and then he had to go to school in Lansing otherwise. We lived 5 minutes from Leavenworth High School. We moved into Leavenworth to go to that historic high school. So this affects people. It affects people who have to vote in communities that they aren't members of. People in Lansing do not consider members of Leavenworth who have a 66048 to be in their district. I know, I ran for office. So what we need to really do is look at those lines that you're drawing. Keep communities together. We need you to be fair. We need to make sure that there is representation for all groups, not just Black voters, white voters, men, women. We really have to look at our country, and really we need you all to work to pull us together so we can make Kansas a great state. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to say a few words? Please identify yourself.
Good morning. My name is April Cromer, and thank you to everyone for coming to our community. I'm very grateful that you're here. Now, I didn't come prepared either. However, I've been listening to a lot of the testimonies, and I would like to just point out one thing. I am a 66048 citizen, but I do not live in Leavenworth city limits. I live just south of Lansing. I consider myself a Lansing resident. I'm a part of District 40. I'm a part of USD 469. So with that being said, as far as the 66043 and 66048, please consider that a lot of the individuals that live in District 40, we are in the county and we are closer to Lansing. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I will take one more before we close. Is there anyone else that'd like to come forward? Please. Please identify yourself, sir, and speak into that mic.
My name's Carl Johnson. I think everyone can agree that some of the biggest threats to our democracy and our country these days includes disenfranchisement and polarization. I think probably one of the biggest things that affect polarization and disenfranchised is the way boundaries are voted for the voting districts. I think that is very important that you keep those things in mind, because I think our country depends on that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. With those comments, I want to close and want to thank everyone here for your input and the specifics provided. That is what we asked for, was community of interest and what you thought about was important to you. This has been really good. It is our goal to achieve exceptional transparency and public access. This was the 13th stop on a 14-stop listening tour. I won't go down the list, but we will be adjourning here and moving on to Lawrence. This tour is not only the time for input. We want to strongly emphasize your input is wanted, and I've highlighted earlier the many access channels that you can deliver your input. We are working through that through this officially after this tour and before the session begins in January of 2022. When we return to this session, there will be hearings and more opportunities to provide testimony. We wanted to get out now and hear about your communities, how you've changed, and are some of the special considerations. And you have delivered that. If you think something that was not addressed, and ask for you to immediately contact Redistricting at klrd.ks.gov or through the website at kansaslegislativeresearch.org, or you can mail your comments to, as Jordan pointed out, to KLRD 300 Southwest 10th Street, room 68 West, Topeka, Kansas. Again, I want to thank the city of Leavenworth and the Riverfront Center. Thank you. And for your beautiful setting here for us today. And again, thank the audience and the committee members for participating. We are adjourned. Thank you.